Hi there and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to take an image that was captured for a recent light painting workshop and I'm going to show you how to finish it off with some final editing, dodging and burning and things like that. You could use any software. You could use Photoshop or Lightroom or Capture Raw or whatever you want, but I'm actually going to jump into Luminar today. A lot of these programs have similar things, so I'm sure you can follow along even if you don't have Luminar. So let's jump and have a look. Okay, so this is the image that I'm going to edit today. If you come back in a couple of days, I've actually got a behind the scenes on how I captured this image using light painting in the studio and a little behind the scenes on the workshop, and I'll show that in a couple of days. But for now, I'm going to show you how I went about editing it. Now, granted, this is probably more for the people who went to the workshop, but I'm guessing you can follow along as well. So as I said, I am in Luminar and I can come in and start having a little play. So I'm going to go into develop module and I'm going to boost the exposure a little bit. I'm going to boost the super contrast a little bit. I'm going to bring the highlights down just a touch and bring the shadows up just a little bit. Not a huge amount, just a little bit. I can come and play with the blacks and whites, and I might boost those just a little bit as well. I could go into curves, so if you prefer to use curves, you can do that as well. Now, coming into color, I'm going to drop, I'm actually going to drop the saturation down a little bit and increase the vibrance. So I don't want it over saturated. I could probably go more into the cooler temperature, so maybe something along the lines of 5600 Kelvin. So that's a fairly neutral one. You could go warmer or cooler if you wish to. I could do a custom white balance, or you can come in and play with the other features as well. Sharpness, I could do a little bit of sharpening on it. Not a huge amount, just a little bit. There's no real noise reduction. I could come in and do some optics, auto defringe and things like that, which can sometimes, you get a little bit of that and some noise in the background when you are working on it. So that's pretty much it. There's nothing here I particularly want to erase. I don't need to fix the structure. I've gone and done that. I could play with the details. So I could come in with the small and medium details and just give them a little bit more and so forth. But what I want to do now is I want to come all the way down the bottom and I want to do a dodge and burn. Now, you can do this in Lightroom, just have to fiddle around with it in masks. You can easily do a dodge and burn in Photoshop. I love doing the dodge and burn in Neo because it's really quite easy. So you've got lighten and you've got darken. You can adjust the size of your brush, how soft or how hard you want the feathering on it. So if I bring that down a little bit, my feathering starts to drop off. And there's also the strength of your stroke. You can also do an overall one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come and do my highlights. Now, my softness needs to come up and my strength needs to come down. But I'm going to paint in where I want my highlights. So where I had the torch painting in my highlights, and I just want to boost that up a little bit. And you can use a mouse or you can use a pen tablet to do this. And that's just a bit bright again, so I'm just going to put the strength down and paint in a little bit of that. Now I can switch over to darken and I can do all the shadows. I love being able to make the highlights and the shadows really appear and disappear with some light painting. It is absolutely fabulous to be able to get in as much detail as you want. And if you make a mistake, you can just go in and just hit erase. And then, of course, you can tone down the whole lot completely. So you can go over the top and then you can come back and you can soften it off. So that's a really cool toy. So if you come into super contrast, you can boost your contrast in your highlights, your midtones, and your shadows. And of course, you can set the balance on those as well. You can also come into your color harmony as well. So if you want to make it warmer or cooler, or the brilliance of your colors as well. So you've got warm and cool, and then you've got desaturated or oversaturated. So you've got those two in your color harmony. You've also got your color contrast. So if you want to play around with that, you can. You've got split warmth. So if you wanted to go a little bit warm and a little bit cooler, so you can split those. Of course, if you come into color balance, then you can actually go and do more. So you can put more blues or greens or magentas in your shadows, your midtones, your highlights. So they're all really fun to play with, and you'll have similar things that you will find in other programs. So from here, what I want to do is I want to go up to here, go into dramatic light, and I can add a bit of that dramatic, which does tend to bring your saturation down and your brightness up. So it's sort of just a matter of playing with that to get something that you like. From here, then you've also got your lookup tables. So there are some fabulous lookup tables that you can use. Really like that Anaheim. And of course, you can alter the strength of that, and you can play with the contrast and the saturation. So I might just bring that down a little bit. So that's where we are here. What I want to do from here is I want to add a bit of texture into my background. So this is fabulous to be able to do this in Luminar. If you're in Lightroom, you'll probably have to go into Photoshop to do this. But up here on the left, I've got layers. If that's my current layer, if I click on the plus, it brings up all of my images. So I can then come in and have a little look at images. Now I've got several of my own that I have used. So I'm just going to bring this old grunge one in, and what I want to do is I want it to fit or stretch to fit my image. I can bring the opacity down. I can change the blend mode. So if I want it on something like lighten or screen, soft light, overlay, etc., I can do that. So I'm going to put it on lighten for the moment, and I'm going to bring the opacity down. So I just want to see what's in the background, but I don't want it on the main part of my image. So I'm going to go into masking. I'm going to go into brush, but you could use linear or radial gradient So what I want to do is I want to paint, and you can see where you're painting because it immediately brings it up as red. Just going to enlarge, going to put the strength up to 100%. And what I'm currently doing is painting it into my image. If you need to take it off something, you can just come in and erase it off where you don't want it. Go back into properties. Okay, I do want to come back into my dodge and burn. So if I come into edits, remember to drop back to your original layer. I'm going to come back into my dodge and burn. I'm going to go into darken. I'm going to go into the size of that. And this is just a little bit distracting through here. Okay, so from here I can then jump back into my tools and I can start or continue playing. So I can go into the light depth panel. And I can drop that down. Matte is another really good one for this. So this gives you that real sort of matte look to your image. You've just got to be careful how much you give it because sometimes it can be just a little bit strong. You've also got blur that you can put on there. You can play around with different blurs. So if you wanted to blur even the top layer, you could do that. So you've got Gaussian, blur, twisted, tilt shift, etc. You can add film grain to it. There's a lot that you can play with in this, and it is fabulous to be able to put another image straight over the top of what you are creating. So that's pretty much it for today. So just finishing off, I basically did a tidy up, a dodge and burn. I did a little bit of color grading, and then I finished off by putting a texture over the top. I could come back in and put multiple textures, so there are other textures that I can put in. So if I wanted to put this, which is, I'm just going to go stretch, so it's going to stretch to the image. I'm going to put it on screen, but I'm going to drop the opacity just a little bit. I think on this one, I just want to drop that a little bit further. So go back into my masking and my brush and my erase. And now I am purely just fiddling. So I'm going to stop there. And of course, if I wanted to, on that last layer that I put on, I could go and play around and erase that from that middle bit as well. But there you have it. Okay, so that's it. So here's the finished image. And all I did was, like I said, a basic cleanup, some dodge and burn, some color grading, a little bit of masking, and that key element of adding the textures in over the top as a couple of layers is fabulous to do in Luminar. So if you've got any questions, don't forget to leave a comment down below. Otherwise, give us a thumbs up, a like, subscribe, and I will see you next time on YouTube. Bye.